Horror games over the last few years have started to make a resurgence, and we've had some crackers. Frictional Games led this charge with Amnesia: The Dark Descent, and they're hopefully making the lightning strike again with Soma. Soma doesn't make enough changes to make it stand out from most horror games that have released recently. Anyone familiar with modern horror games will start to see cracks in the formula show up, and signs of stagnation are going to start appearing. Soma is very similar to what you've played before. You run away from enemies and hide, as there's no way to defend yourself. The similarities to Frictional's other games is apparent straight away. You can use the game's physics system to pick up objects, open doors, drawers, and other ways to manipulate the environment. Whilst this formula is by no means bad, it's just seen no evolution since 2007, which is when it appeared in Frictional's game Penumbra, and games have come along since then and bettered the formula, like Alien Isolation. Soma's aging gameplay is also not helped by its repetitious environments. Whilst the game takes place in an underwater colony, which at first looks gorgeous, areas start to feel very similar, leading you to get turned around and lost. Add to that the many long sections where the game becomes almost a walking simulator, especially the underwater sections. Plus the addition of backtracking later on in the game, it becomes a really dull affair. Obviously during your travels you encounter Soma's collection of enemies. Whilst a couple of them have creepy appearances, the AI is an absolute joke. Look at this clip here. I'm standing right next to an enemy and it doesn't notice me. Puzzles also fail to impress. Most of them are insultingly simple, and those that do tough up a bit, you can usually get away with pressing random buttons for it to work. The early hours of Soma can be quite scary, but it has the same problem I had with Alien Isolation, in that after a few hours the creep factor starts to wear off and it becomes frustrating instead of frightening. Though Soma's gameplay feels very lacking, the area which makes Soma stand out is its narrative. Whilst the story is interesting and definitely has something to say, it comes off as slightly pretentious. The voice acting to support the narrative is pretty strong for the most part, but the main character seems to be the weakest of the batch. But, and this can be a big one for some people, plot elements are on audio logs. Whilst it's not necessary to find them all, if you want the full picture you'll need to hunt them down. Graphically the game looks alright, there's some really good disturbing visuals, humans being crossed with sea life and robots, the stuff of nightmares. Optimization wise on the PC it's not very strong. On my PC that far exceeds the recommended specs, the game regularly stuttered. But really I think Soma would have been a better game if it focused less on horror. The horror just isn't very strong and it feels very outdated. With such a strong narrative it would have been nice to see a better gameplay experience surrounding it.